Hey guys, welcome to episode number 497. Today we are at a yard waste and compost site to do a little stump hunting. Now, as you guys may recall, one idea that I've had for my 300-gallon turtle tank is to replace all the plastic and milk crates and all that junk that's in the center of the tank with something a little bit more natural. And one of the ideas that I've had is to replace that with a stump. And the idea would be to find a stump, something that has some root-like structures on the sides, which is tall enough to go in the tank and would allow me to basically carve out the inside, or if I can find one that's already hollow on the inside, that would be even better. A place where I could put sand and substrate for a turtle nesting box, but something that would look more natural, a more natural island type thing in the center of the tank. So I would much prefer to get something like this from a lake or from the ocean, like a piece of natural driftwood, but to find something that's the right shape and size and actually a stump as opposed to a branch or something like that, or a log, is a pretty difficult thing, maybe 1 in a million to find something like that in driftwood form. So this is the next best alternative, is to go to a compost site like this and to just take a look around. So we're gonna do that. I live in the Northeast, so the worst thing that could happen here is maybe a bee sting. Obviously I'm not gonna go climbing on a mountain of logs. That would be fairly dangerous. So what I'm gonna do is just look around the base here and see if I can find something to pull out. Now something like this would be good because it has some of these root structures on it, but the overall diameter of something like this is going to be way too small. I bet this is only about, let's see, yeah, this is only about 1 foot in diameter, and I think I'm looking for something closer to 2 feet in diameter so that I've got plenty of space for sand and for turtles to dig and potentially nest inside something like this. Obviously, as we walk around, we're gonna find some things that are way too deteriorated, not really worth looking at stuff like that. Some stuff is just gonna be hacked up and chopped up. I also need to find something that's tall enough. I think I'm looking for something between 24 and 30 inches tall so that it can sit above the water line in my stock tank. So as I look around, I'm also looking for something that is hopefully a hardwood type tree. If it's softwood, it's gonna fall apart too quickly in the water, and it's not gonna be worth my time. So something like an oak or a maple would be preferable. Some of this stuff is already dead and seasoned. It might have been out here for quite some time already, so something like that would be good. If it's a little greener, then I might need to leave it outside for over the winter or something like that before I bring it inside. But there's plenty to look through. If you do have reptiles, there are some pieces like these roots which could be interesting to use as branches in your reptile enclosures. So all in all, pretty interesting place to look around. We're just gonna walk around this pile and see what we can find without getting into too much trouble. Obviously, when people have yard projects, when they have dead trees that fall down, this is where they bring them. Also got to be careful for nails, because there are some boards. So this is actually a really good example of something that might work. Obviously this is the base of a tree. It doesn't have any of the roots attached to it. So I mean, it's not exactly what I'm looking for, but it is around the right shape and size. Take a measurement real quick. Hold on, let's go up here. Yeah, so it's like 2 feet across and It's like 2 feet tall. So it's in the right neighborhood, in the right ballpark. As I look at this bark, it looks like it's definitely not a pine. I'm not 100% sure if it's an oak, but it does look like it's a relatively hard wood. It's definitely not an aromatic wood, which is a good sign. So we'll come back to that one, but we'll keep looking. Obviously stuff like that has multiple trunks isn't really going to work. Anything that's too long and loggy isn't going to work. Anything that's way too big isn't going to work. Anything that's up there and might cause me to get killed by getting crushed, not going to work. Stuff like this is too short, so that's not going to work either. But I am seeing quite a few pieces that have the start of a hole, and honestly that might be what led to the trees dying in the first place. And something like that could be interesting to help start that hole that I want to ultimately carve in the tree itself. Let's take a look at this one. This one looks way too eroded and irregular. That would be really difficult to get to stand up, and not exactly what I'm looking for. I would like to carve it a little bit to make it look more natural, and maybe even sand it a little bit. See if that might help make it look more natural. So this is interesting. I might actually take this home. This is a piece of a tree that's basically been cut into a board, and I'm assuming someone was doing some sort of project, and they had a few pieces left over and they just tossed them. But for me, something like this might work really well for a basking ramp or a basking platform. It allows me to basically use a jigsaw and cut it to the right shape and size if I want to, or I could just leave the natural edges intact and just sort of cut it to length. So I already have a pretty good basking ramp, but something like this might be cool for a future project, or for connecting my new stump if I find it. So we'll keep looking. Some really big pieces. Like this guy right here is probably like 3.5 feet in diameter, which is crazy. Walking over to the back side, looks like a lot of that stuff is kind of precarious, very large stuff. This one is kind of interesting. This is a good example of one that's already hollowed out, so that would make pretty quick work there. Something like this actually might work really well, again, in like a reptile enclosure, or maybe even like on the bottom of a koi pond. If you could get something like this to sink, that would be a great natural hide for fish, potentially, or turtles. It is a little large. It's not exactly the right shape for me, but having the interior already hollowed out like this, just from natural decay, would mean that it would be a heck of a lot less work to carve that out myself. And it looks like pieces might eventually pop off themselves here with a chisel. So that might be an option. Looking at the bark though, and I'm not really a bark expert, but I don't think this is a hardwood. In fact, like the amount of decay here might be indicative that it's not, but it's an option. It's something to consider. I don't know exactly what kind of wood that is, but let's take a measurement real quick. It's definitely long enough. Question is, it's around 18 inches. So it's a little bit smaller than I'd like. I'd like for it to be sort of like out here. It's a little bit smaller than I want, but a lot of the work's already done. I'm kind of curious. It's probably, honestly, it's probably not big enough for a turtle to want to lay eggs in. You know, like even if I chiseled a little bit more out, we're looking at maybe like 13 or 14 inches in diameter. Might be a little bit too tight for a turtle to feel comfortable laying. This one's another good one. Again, I don't know if it's necessarily a hardwood, but yeah, again, it's like the same size as the other one. Definitely tall enough. Just might not be, honestly, that one's a little bit bigger. It's already got a hollow in it, so that might be easier. So that one's more work, and it's a little bit smaller. So that one's out. I'm really looking for something more like that has some of the roots still attached. If I could find an oak tree with roots like that attached, I think that would be the best case scenario. I think it would look most natural. This one, again, I'm not sure if it's a hardwood, and one side looks like it's chewed up, but having the roots attached is really what I'm going for. I like the shape of this one on the top. It looks pretty cool. It's got a little variation to it. It's not just totally round. It's about the right diameter here, 22 inches. But to be honest with you, there's so much root matter attached to this one that that would be impossible to move. And it looks like one side is pretty well decayed there. So if I'm able to kick this off with my foot, I don't think I want that in my tank. It's just gonna fall apart. So that's the real trick, is to find something that's gonna stay together long enough, isn't gonna fall apart. So we're getting here to the end. I don't see a whole lot left. And again, I don't really want to go on a climbing expedition, especially not with something this size. So let's grab a couple pieces and let's head home, and we'll see what we can do with them. All right, guys, and here is the stump at home. It was quite difficult to get it home. Probably about 200 or 300 pounds of wood here, so lifting that up into the car was not an easy task, but it's here. I went with a piece that has a good flat bottom and a good flat top. As we walk around it, you can see there are no roots, which I was looking for, but at least it's the right shape and the right size. So I'm going to test this one out, and if I don't like the final product, I can always go find another one that maybe has a little bit more character. But at least it has sort of like a branch here, and it sort of goes up at an angle. So at least it's not just like a plain old circular log shape. So we'll see how this goes, and we'll go from there. The bark is relatively thick. I'm not exactly sure what kind of tree this is. So if you are a bark expert and you can identify this tree just by looking at the bark, please let me know. I do think it might be either an oak or a maple. At least that's the hope. So we'll go with that for now. But essentially what I want to do here is I'm going to take all the bark off, because I think this is the first stuff that's going to fall off on its own when I put it in the water. And from there, what I want to do is use this ship auger bit, drill bit, and probably stay about 2 or 3 inches from the side of the stump here, and drill a series of holes, and drill them basically as deep as I can go. And from there, I'm going to try to cut out in between the holes with either a jigsaw or with a Sawzall or something else, and then from there I might use a chisel or something else to sort of pry those pieces of wood out, so that I can try to carve out the inside of this stump. That's going to be a fairly tall task, so it's not going to happen in this video, but it is a project here to be completed within the next few weeks. So you can see there's already the start of a hole in the center, so hopefully that, along with some of these cracks, will help me to scoop those pieces out, splinter those pieces out, which would be good. And we'll see how far we get. I think I want to probably carve out at least 12 inches deep to give a good sand bed for a nesting box. And we'll see how difficult that proves. It might be a lot of work, so the construction of this might take place over several videos, and we might completely fail, but at least we'll try and we'll learn and we'll go from there. One of the biggest concerns I have is when I carve out the top side of this stump, the bottom side is going to have the most flotation, and I think what would happen is if I put this directly into a tank, it would automatically just flip. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to overcome that. I might need to actually carve out the bottom as well and put some sort of weight, some sort of concrete weight in the bottom, so that the bottom is weighed down and the top stays upright. But we'll figure all that out as we get closer. Hopefully this is something that will ultimately work, and hopefully it will look good in the aquarium, and hopefully the turtles will like it. If not, at least we will have tried something new, and hopefully we can learn from our mistakes. But here's to hoping it works out. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.